Good morning, honored guests, Gold Star mothers, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 216th birthday celebration of the United States Marine Corps. During the ceremony, you are requested to stand during the entrance and exit of the color guard, playing of our national anthem, the chaplain's prayer, and honors for the commanding general. It will not be necessary to rise during the entrance or exit of the historical colors. It is fitting and proper that we pause briefly to reflect upon the events of this day, our Corps, our nation, and to pay homage to our fallen comrades. Please rise as Chaplain J.W. Grove, Command Chaplain, leads us in prayer.
Let us pause for a moment of silence in memory of our fallen comrades. Good and loving Creator, we pause but for a moment to offer our thanks to you for this special day. Last year we prayed for the safe return of our shipmates. They are here now. For that we offer our sincerest prayer of gratitude. As we join together this morning to remember the history of the Marine Corps, might we be inspired by the commitment and sacrifice of the men and women who have preceded us to recommit our lives to the cause of peace, justice, and freedom. Even in these moments, that cause is taking root and growing in parts where we never even dreamed it would find life. That is in no small way due to the steadfast commitment of men and women of division, many of whom are present here. Might the history that we now celebrate be more than simple remembering, but a vital ingredient in our living as individuals, as a Corps, and as a nation. Continue to look favorably upon all that we do here now, and go with us into the future so that we can continue to be your instruments of peace and justice in this your world. Amen.
Please be seated. Commands, parade, rest. During our Corps' history, a number of flags have flown over this great nation. As part of our birthday celebration, we present the flags that have transcended our country's history. In the early years of our country, the Marines protected our shores under English flags. The King's colors of red, white, and blue flew above these shores for many years. During the Revolutionary War, Marines also fought under many banners, all symbols of a new felt freedom. It was during the Revolutionary War that flags appeared, with alternating red and white stripes with stars on a field of blue. Although there have been minor modifications throughout the years, this flag established the pattern of our flag of today. After the War of 1812, Congress decreed that our flag would remain at 13 stripes, with one new star for each added state that joined the Union. This flag is thus the pattern for our flag of today. Commands, attention. Please rise for the presentation of our national colors. Included in the color guard are the colors of all units stationed aboard the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center. Today there are 50 stars in the glorious flag of our nation. This is Old Glory. For 10 score years, it has been the banner of hope and freedom for generation after generation of Americans. Born amid the first flames of America's fight for freedom, it is the symbol of a country that has grown from a group of 13 colonies to a united nation of 50 sovereign states. So long as men love liberty more than life itself, so long as they treasure the priceless privileges bought with the blood of their forefathers, so long as the principles of truth, charity, and justice for all remain rooted in human hearts, the Stars and Stripes shall continue to be the enduring banner of the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Commands, parade, rest. At this time, we present our historical pageant. November 10th, 1775. The place is Tun Tavern in Philadelphia. The Continental Congress has resolved that 2 battalions of Marines be formed. Robert Mullen was appointed a captain of Marines and became the first recruiting officer in the Marine Corps. As early as May of 1775, Marines took part in the Revolution. Captain Samuel Nichols led the first successful landing operation, a raid on New Providence in the Bahamas. Continental Marines participated in every phase of the war. It was here that Marines acquired the name Leathernecks. Shortly after independence, the growing nation began to realize the importance of a strong Navy and a Corps of Marines. In 1805, Lieutenant Presley O'Bannon led his Marines, along with Arab and Greek mercenaries, across 600 miles of North Africa. At the end of their trek, O'Bannon's troops captured a fortress in Tripoli, which was defended by Barbary pirates. For the first time in history, the American flag flew over a fortress in the Old World. November 10th, 1812. The War of 1812 added more credits to the young Corps. Marines again distinguished themselves by taking part in every naval engagement. Along with Army troops, Marines participated in an amphibious expedition that captured Toronto in 1813. A detachment of Marines and sailors fought at the Battle of Bladensburg, valiantly holding the field after all other American troops had fled. Marines gave a good account of themselves in the repulse of the British at New Orleans and were greatly commended for their service. November 10th, 1836. Colonel Archibald Henderson volunteers a regiment of Marines to assist the Army fighting Indians in Florida. The Marines campaigned in the southern swamps, fighting the Creeks in Georgia and the Seminoles in Florida. In 1837, Colonel Henderson became the Corps' first general officer. General Henderson remained the Commandant of the Marine Corps for 38 years under 9 presidents. November 10th, 1840. America is at war with Mexico. A battalion of Marines provided the storming parties for the assault and capture of Mexico City. With Marines in the lead, Army and Marine troops captured the castle Chapultepec. In memory of the bloody battle, Marine officers and NCOs still wear a red stripe along the seams of their dress blue trousers. It was also this battle which inspired the opening line of the Marines' hymn, "From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli." November 10th, 1860. A colorful yet tragic era of American history began when brothers were pitted against one another in the war between the states. When the Civil War began in 1861, Marines served mostly on naval vessels. In 1862, Marines became the first Union troops to enter New Orleans. November 10th, 1898. In February, the battleship Maine is blown up and sunk in Havana Harbor. Remember the Maine became the battle cry for Americans. By April, Spain had declared war on the United States. Marine Lieutenant Colonel Huntington landed his battalion at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba in June. A month prior to the Battle of San Juan Hill, U.S. Marines were the first American troops to establish a beachhead. The Marines had once again proven themselves to the American people. November 10th, 1917. Marines have come a long way from duty on sailing ships. By February 1918, the 4th Marine Brigade is formed in France. For the first time on record, a Marine General, Johnny Lejeune, commanded an Army division in combat. In 20 days of fighting, the Marine Brigade fought and defeated 2 of Germany's most distinguished divisions. The Battle of Belleau Wood earned the Croix de Guerre for this spirited Marine Brigade. In this and later battles, the German armies were impressed enough to name the American Marines Devil Dogs, a name still held in pride by Marines. During World War I, Marines were introduced to many new ideas, which would later be accepted as part of the Corps. A place called Paris Island, a machine called the airplane, and women called marionettes. November 10th, 1918. Women volunteers were used in the growing Marine Corps. They were used as clerical workers, and even though the marionettes disbanded following the Big War, subsequent wars proved the importance of women Marines. November 10th, 1925. The years between the 2 world wars saw the Marine Corps develop specialized equipment and doctrines. The men who would lead Marines to fame and victory in World War II were serving their apprenticeships in the so-called Banana Wars. While an entire Marine brigade was fighting rebels in Nicaragua, Marine aviators developed a tactic called close air support in Quantico, Virginia, and a group of officers wrote a manual which would later be the basis for every successful amphibious operation in World War II. November 10th, 1942. America goes to war after being attacked by the Japanese at Pearl Harbor. Marines fought with valor in the futile defense of Guam, Wake, and Corregidor. The first Allied offense in the Pacific was naturally accomplished by Marines. In August of 42, the 1st Marine Division landed on the beaches of Tulagi and Guadalcanal. The Marines went on to even greater victories on many more Japanese-held islands in the Pacific. Bougainville, Tarawa, New Britain, Roy Namur, Eniwetok, Saipan, Tinian, Peleliu, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. Marines secured bloody and spectacular victories in every instance. Also in 1942, November 10, 1942, the United States Marine Corps' Women Reserve was authorized by Congress. Their slogan was "Free a Man to Fight," which they did very effectively by working in over 200 job classifications, ranging from accountant to woodworking machine operator. The great majority filled clerical billets, and by June 1944 had taken over a major share of the administration at stateside bases. They insisted on being called Marines and wore the Marine Corps emblem with pride. When the war ended in August 1945, General Vandergrift remarked that the women Marines were responsible for putting the 6th Marine Division into the field. They had freed many men to fight. Today's woman Marine continues to effectively serve our country and Corps in every occupational specialties except those directly involved in combat. Their selfless dedication has continued to enhance the ability of our Marine Corps to respond quickly to the needs of our country. November 10, 1950. The United Nations branded Communist North Korea as an aggressor against the world community. By August, the 1st Marine Brigade was on duty defending the Pusan perimeter. In September, a landing was made at Incheon behind enemy lines, which forced the North Korean army to retreat. Suddenly, Communist Chinese forces by the thousand joined with the North Koreans. The Marines were left behind to protect the withdrawal of UN forces. Completely surrounded and outnumbered, the Marine commander was asked by reporters if he intended to retreat. He replied, "Retreat hell! We're just attacking in another direction." And attack they did. The march back from the chosen reservoir proved again that Marines fight best when faced with impossible odds. November 10, 1965. When Marines landed at Da Nang in early 1965, it seemed to be just another in a series of routine deployments. In the Republic of Vietnam, Marines learned to fight a new type of war and initiated a new doctrine called civic action, a fight for the hearts and minds of the people. November 10, 1991. The men and women of the Navy Medical and Dental Corps, as well as the Chaplain Corps, are proving once again that they can stand shoulder to shoulder with the fighting Marines. The man we call Doc, the medical corpsman, is an angel of mercy to the wounded Marine. Being a Marine in war or peace calls for special internal strength. Administering to those needs is the Navy's Chaplain Corps. In combat or in garrison, men like Medal of Honor recipient Vincent Capodanno. The chaplain is a friend, a counselor, and a spiritual leader to all Marines, regardless of rank or faith. August 2nd, 1990. The Iraqi army invades the Emirate of Kuwait. The Iraqi government called it an annexation of one of their territories. We Americans called it a pure act of aggression. Thus began the fastest mobilizations in modern military history to defend the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which was in extreme danger of being invaded itself. Our 29 Palms Marines were part of the Marine Expeditionary Brigade that deployed to Southwest Asia. And because of the maritime pre-positioning ships, the Marines were totally self-contained and ready to engage in combat operations within days of arriving in Saudi Arabia. While waiting for reinforcements, they were constantly training in the defense of NBC warfare, trench clearing operations, and obstacle breaching in the hot, dry Saudi desert. Then after a 5.5-month wait, they knew their time had come. And once again, the Marines would be called to perform their duties as they had done in the past. January 17, 1991. The Gulf region explodes with the thunder of Marine and Allied fixed-wing aircraft. en route to tactical targets inside Kuwait and into the heart of Iraq itself. Marines were constantly preparing and planning for the final thrust to liberate the Emirate of Kuwait. During an 18-mile foot mobile operation on 22 February, Marines as Task Force Grizzly infiltrated the Iraqi defensive positions and secured Task Force Ripper's left flank. In the early morning hours of 24 February 1991, during a blitzkrieg operation, Task Force Ripper smashed into the Iraqi frontline positions. Combat units were moving so fast that before the Iraqi High Command knew the ground offensive had started, the Marines were sitting right on their front porch. Once again, the Marine Corps Air Ground Team proved itself a formidable foe. Though the war only lasted 100 hours, the Marines once again proved themselves as one of the most elite fighting forces the world has ever seen. General Schwarzkopf said it best when he stated, "The Marines of the 1st and 2nd Marine Divisions that breached and assaulted the Iraqi minefields performed both tactically and proficiently perfect. Their tactics will be studied for the next 20 years." The Marine Corps of today is based on the concept of the air-ground logistics team. Marine aviators flying helicopters, transport aircraft, and high-performance jet aircraft give Marines mobility and fire superiority in every situation. The air-ground logistics team makes the Marine Corps the nation's force in readiness. The Marine of 1991 looks very different than the seafaring Marine of 1775. Their common pride and esprit de corps, however, distinguish them from any other fighting man in history. At this gathering, there are men who wrote the history of the Marine Corps with their own sweat and blood. Somewhere in this crowd, you will find a veteran of the Pacific Campaign. You are surrounded by men who fought in Vietnam. These men were not surprised when they heard of the valiant deeds of the Rockpile, Cantien, Quai San, Grenada, Lebanon, or the countless other. Like every Marine before them, they're still ready to answer the call. Always ready, always faithful. America can still depend on her leathernecks. On November 1st, 1921, Johnny Lejeune, 13th Commandant of the Marine Corps, directed that a reminder of the honorable service of the Corps be published by every command to all Marines throughout the globe on the birthday of the Corps. Therefore, in compliance with the will of the 13th Commandant, Article 38, United States Marine Corps Manual, edition of 1921, is republished as follows. On November 10, 1775, a Corps of Marines was created by a resolution of the Continental Congress. Since that date, many thousand men have borne the name Marine. In memory of them, it is fitting that we who are Marines should commemorate the birthday of our Corps by calling to mind the glories of its long and illustrious history. The record of our Corps is one which will bear comparison with that of the most famous military organizations in the world's history. During 90 of the 146 years of its existence, the Marine Corps has been in action against the nation's foes. From the Battle of Trenton to the Argonne, Marines have won foremost honors in war and in the long era of tranquility at home. Generation after generation of Marines have grown gray in war in both hemispheres and in every corner of the 7 seas, that our country and its citizens might enjoy peace and security. In every battle and skirmish since the birth of our Corps, Marines have acquitted themselves with the greatest distinction, winning new honors on each occasion until the term Marine has come to signify all that is highest in military efficiency and soldierly virtue. This high name of distinction and soldierly repute we who are Marines today have received from those who preceded us in the Corps. With it, we also received from them the eternal spirit which has animated our Corps from generation to generation and has been the distinguishing mark of the Marines in every age. So long as that spirit continues to flourish, Marines will be found equal to every emergency in the future as they have been in the past. And the men of our nation will regard us as worthy successors to the long line of illustrious men who have served as soldiers of the sea since the founding of the Corps. The following is from our 30th Commandant on this November 10th, 1991. For 216 years, the word Marine has borne special meaning to the military professionals, both friend and foe. It has personified the highest in all that is associated with the profession of arms. To our countrymen, it has meant pride, discipline, and the extra measure of valor and devotion it takes to fight and win. To those in need of humanitarian assistance, It has meant a warm heart and a helping hand. And to we privileged few who have earned the right to bear our honored title, it brings the indescribable personal pride we feel each time we are called Marine. For over 2 centuries, Marines have been at the heart of American pride. Our great country has relied on and always received more from the special breed she knows as Marines. Thus today we celebrate not only the founding of our Corps, but also our unique and close bond with the people of our nation and its history. As our generation of Marines serves, let it be said of us, as it has of those before us, that all we ask of our country is the privilege of serving it and the honor of defending it. So on this special occasion, to each who wears or has worn the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, and to all families who support us, stand tall. You deserve to. You're 216 years proud. Happy birthday, Marines. General C.E. Mundy, Jr., Commandant of the Marine Corps. The inspiring messages of our 13th and 30th Commandants have left their mark in the hearts and minds of all Marines. By deed and act, from Guadalcanal to Iwo Jima, from Incheon to the Korean Armistice, from the Dominican Republic to Vietnam, from Lebanon and Grenada to Saudi Arabia, Marines have continued to epitomize those qualities which are their legacy. The success they have achieved in combat and the faith they have borne in peace will continue. The Commandant and our many friends add their hearty praise and congratulations on this, our 216th birthday. Marines of the Combat Center commemorate the birthday of our Corps by calling to mind events of our past. Events which have given meaning and strength to our motto, Semper Fidelis, always faithful. Faithful to the Corps, faithful to country, and faithful to our comrades. Throughout the world for over 200 years, Marines have kept the colors of our nation flying high, unfurled to every breeze. The national colors and battle standards displayed here today are living symbols of the sacrifices of those who have gone before us. Commands, attention. Ladies and gentlemen, our Commanding General, Major General John I. Hopkins, Commanding General of the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center. Please rise. Major General Hopkins is accompanied by the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center Sergeant Major C.W. Chamberlain. Attention to orders. On behalf of the Commandant of the Marine Corps, the Commanding General, Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center will add the Southwest Asia Service Medal streamer to the organizational colors of the 7th Marine Expeditionary Brigade as a representative of all McCaxey FMF units that participated in Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm from 12 August 1990 to 24 March 1991. The Secretary of the Navy takes pleasure in presenting the Meritorious Unit Commendation to Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center, 29 Palms, California, for services set forth in the following. For meritorious service in support of the 7th Marine Expeditionary Brigade and 7th Marine Regiment during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm, from 2 August 1990 to 31 March 1991. The Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center and participating units displayed a total team effort in providing superlative administrative, dental, logistic, medical service, and training support to the 10th Fleet Marine Force units deployed from McCaxey to Southwest Asia. from construction of mount-out boxes, processing reserve replacements, providing short-notice medical and dental deployment services, to the efficient coordinated transportation of units and equipment, the personnel of these designated units performed in a dedicated and professional manner. After the initial deployment of the FMF commands, an uncompromising and effective training program for deploying units and individuals was maintained and supported by the remaining McCaxey units. New barracks and office spaces were repaired, improved, and constructed in anticipation of use by reserve replacements, training personnel, and the ultimate return of the deployed units from Southwest Asia. By their steadfast perseverance, extreme personal sacrifice, and inspiring devotion to duty, the officers, enlisted personnel, and civilian employees of the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center and participating units reflected credit upon themselves and upheld the highest traditions of the Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service. H. Lawrence Garrett III, Secretary of the Navy. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Commands, parade, rest.
Commanders, it's getting hot and I'm going to take a couple of minutes, so you can go at ease, but do what you have to do to get the circulation going. I think after 35 years being a part of ceremonies like this, it would be an emotion. Not so with me. The blood runs hot and always has. Marine sailors, Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very special day for all that have had the title Marine. It's also a special day for those superb Navy men and women that have served with and alongside us, the Corps. It's also special for our precious families, for our civilian employees that support us as we celebrate this 216th birthday of our Corps. I say to each and every one of you a heartfelt happy birthday. At any Marine Corps celebration, we pay homage to those that have gone before us. We pay homage to those that have given their lives for the freedom of this great country of ours. We also recognize those gallant Marines whose service has added to the legends of our Corps and have also made this organization what it is today. A few minutes ago, you saw the pageant, and many of the men and women in the pageant represent our heroes. I say to you, thank you, well done, and again I give Lieutenant Tron and his band a Bravo Zulu for a superb performance. We have some special guests with us today. You're all special, but I want to recognize some. We have Brigadier General Reed, a former commanding general of the Combat Center. We have Mac Doobie and Colonel Ludwig, who have been chiefs of staff here. We have a guest of Admiral Norva, retired. We have Colonel Mooney, who's visiting us from the British Army. We have also Lou Pershad, a giant among giants, a man who has devoted hard work and love of his Corps to make McCaxey a better place to be. Stand up, Lou. We also are very privileged to have Sergeant Major Overstreet, Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, who we both served on the drill field many, many moons ago. And Sergeant Major, welcome aboard. It's an honor to have you here with us today. And I think we also have some very important people. I guess school is out today. We have a lot of students with us, and I'm very proud that you came to visit with us, because our nation will be in your hands in the future, and I know we couldn't be prouder of that fact. So welcome. The last 12 months have been tumultuous for the world, particularly for the United States and its military forces. We have seen the Cold War dissipate after 40 years. We've seen communism crumple in Europe and in the Soviet Union. We've seen the Iraqis invade Kuwait and were severely defeated in Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and these battalion staffs, as was alluded to earlier, were part of that defeat and wrote a new chapter in our Corps' history and in the 7th Marines' history. The Berlin Wall is down. The Soviet Union, as we have known it, is not the same. The threat has diminished, and we in the military, all services, are going to face budgetary cuts. We're going to face personnel drawdowns, and we're probably going to be involved with restructuring of our services. So what now for the United States Marine Corps and our Marines? General Monday talked about the 2 centuries of Marines that have been the heart and pride of the American people. He also talked about the bond that we have with our nation and its history, and the fact that all we ask is the privilege to serve our country and the privilege and honor to fight our country's battles. Lejeune similarly talked about the internal spirit that's passed from generation of Marine to generation of Marine of all ages, and as long as we keep that eternal spirit the way it should be, that we'll be worthy of what will go on in the future at any tasking that we're given, and our nation will believe that we are worthy successors to those that have gone before you. No one can predict where the Marine Corps is going to be in the future, but I know a few things that will surely happen as we finish out this decade. We'll be the combat power of the fighting force second to none in the world. Our quality of Marines will still be the highest that we've ever had in our Corps. We will have the best weapon systems and equipment that can be had. The individual Marine, the quality of life for the individual Marine and his family will continue to improve, and will be our country's force and readiness as we always have been in the past. But when you're a professional and you're fighting your country's battles, as was the case in Saudi Arabia, by these men in front of you, when the last shot is fired, you become part of history. And Marines immediately look to the future. And during these periods of peace, where the Marines are a little different from our sister services, we do one thing, and that is to train and to get ready. And the secret of our success on the battlefield is our ability to have quality training and put the motivation within this training. And we must and will, with another word, service, dedication to our country and to our Corps. We don't just preach those words, we live those words. The challenges in the future are going to be tough. We're going to have to do more with less. But in my opinion, with General Monday at the helm, that our Corps couldn't be any more secure. And I have a lot of confidence in what will happen in the future. Now, taking off on what I just talked about, I want to say to Marines, this is a time where we look at ourselves and we rededicate ourselves to our Corps and country and to the principles that are so important to us. You're a Marine every day, all day. You're a member of the Navy service no matter where you go. We haven't done some things well since we got back to the Persian Gulf. We're killing too many Marines in automobile accidents. Some of them alcohol related. Some of our discipline standards have come down. And I'm asking you and telling you and directing you, regardless where you are in the chain of command, we've got to do better and we've got to turn that around. And that's the thing that we're going to do here at McCaxey as we go into our 217th year. The future of the Combat Center is bright. Where other bases are closing and the manning is being reduced, the Combat Center will continue to grow. You can look at a the hospital, Naval Hospital that's being constructed, and also the dental facility. We have a 600-unit family housing that's going in 29 Palms for our young Marines and their families. As the Marine Corps Air Station at Tustin closes, we will put in an air station here at 29 Palms. So the opportunities for military personnel, the opportunities for civilian personnel are going to be there, and the opportunities of mutual beneficial liaison between 29 Palms and the surrounding area and Combat Center will be even more so than they are today. So in sum, I'd say this to you: we're 216 years proud and strong. I want in the next few days for you to enjoy yourselves and have a good time, but I want you to be safe at the same time, and I charge each and every one of you to do that and to take care of each other. I'm proud of each and every one of you. It's a privilege. I say again, a privilege and an honor for me to be the CG of McCaxey. Happy birthday, Marines. Semper Fidelis.
At this time, Major General Hopkins will cut our birthday cake. In accordance with Marine Corps tradition, the first piece of cake is given to the oldest Marine, and the second piece to the youngest Marine at the Combat Center. The oldest Marine is Colonel Philip C. Cisneros. He was born April 9, 1932, and entered the Marine Corps in August 1950. Sergeant Major Chamberlain will cut the cake for the youngest Marine. The youngest Marine is PFC Eduardo Perez. He was born November 13, 1973, and entered the Marine Corps in June 1991. Command's attention. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as the colors are retired. They- Ladies and gentlemen, the historical flags and period players will reassemble in front of the reviewing stands for pictures. This concludes the Marine Corps birthday pageant for 1991. Thank you for attending.